Good morning and welcome to Rising. Happy Monday. We are heading for the election. This week has come that we political people spend weeks preparing for, and here it is.
You got some sun to prepare.
Yes, I took
I
took the last week off. I was in Miami for a little bit of vacation and some networking, actually with friends of the show. I caught up with some of our prominent guests, one of them who's going to be on today, Michael Schellenberger. We got to spend some time together in Miami. It was very nice.
Is that what we're going to ask him about? Is like what were you doing on the beach? What were you drinking? What were you drinking? That's what I want to know.
A lot of red wine. Myself, a lot of red wine, a lot of tequila, some mojitos.
Just like right now.
Kind of thing. Just like right now.
That's
this
how
is
we
coffee.
get through. That's how we get. Well, for you, it's coffee.
Yeah. By
Speak for yourself,
by
Robby.
Tuesday night, when we still don't know who has won, we might be switching from coffee to liquor. I think.
Champagne, maybe.
Champagne.
Prosecco, because we're cheap.
Real pain for my sham friends, champagne for my real friends, as Fall Out Boy said. All right, let's get to it. We're down to the wire. Obviously, the 2024 presidential election and the race is a nail-biter. It's as close can be. This past weekend, Harris fans, however, did get a boost when the Selzer Poll, carried out for the Des Moines Register newspaper, shows Vice President Harris ahead substantially of her Republican rival, 3 points in that state. Iowa is a red state, is not expected to be competitive. There's been zero ad dollars spent there. So even Selzer was surprised that, according to her methodology, she showed that state actually in the Kamala Harris column. Here's what she said.
I don't think anybody would look at the numbers and not be, in a somewhat state of shock. We started interviewing Monday night, so Tuesday morning I walked in, my assistant was already crunching numbers, and she said, "Did you see the unweighted data?" I go, "Yeah, I'd like to see the weighted data." Yeah. So we're always very cautious about embracing things too much. I'm always telling my clients, don't get married to these numbers because they can change. But all they did was confirm what we were seeing in the unweighted data after Monday night, that Harris was in the lead in Iowa. And that was, nobody in their right mind would predict it.
Now, it's significant that Selzer polling has gone against conventional wisdom in the past and has been proven to be correct. It was her poll that predicted Barack Obama would beat the powerful Hillary Clinton. Selzer has generated respect from both sides of the aisle, but former President Trump is not concerned about the poll. Here's what he told a Pennsylvania rally on Sunday.
You really do inflict damage, when you do like this person from Iowa. Today, the election essentially is really, we're talking Turkey, comes out with a poll different from every other poll because it wasn't even in question. It's really the opposite way. I'm way up. If you look at 3-4 months ago, Dan, I was losing states that now are walks, they're now walks. And I think you're going to have that here. It's called suppression. They suppress. And it actually should be illegal because it's, in many ways, it's worse than the written word, which these guys do quite well.
Trump backers also expressed confidence. Charlie Kirk tweeted, "Ignore the polls, ignore the pundits, ignore those that say Kamala has seized the momentum, just vote."
Ignore everyone but him. On this Monday morning, most other polls are still deadlocked, and the race is effectively a coin toss. Predictably, people are already playing Monday morning quarterback as to why each side could lose. It just may be the year of the woman, though. If Trump loses, many analysts say it will be women who turned out to vote against the limitations on reproductive rights. Women are finally standing up and voting their conscience, even if it means not telling their husbands, apparently. A controversial Julia Roberts ad that suggested women could ignore their husbands' wishes and lie to them about who they are voting for attracted attention over the weekend. Let's watch.
Your turn, honey.
In the one place in America where women still have a right to choose, you can vote any way you want, and no one will ever know.
Did you make the right choice?
Sure did, honey.
Remember, what happens in the booth stays in the booth. Vote Harris Walls.
That's a yikes for me. Turnout is heavy in early voting across the nation. The economy may be the issue that wins it for Trump. Nate Silver's latest analysis points out that high inflation is closely correlated with stronger support for Trump. He tweeted, perhaps not the biggest takeaway, but there is a notably high correlation between where inflation has been greater or lesser and where Harris has gained or lost ground versus Biden. Okay, lot to get into here. Let's start with the Selzer poll that was providing a lot of hope, I could tell, to left Democratic commentators. I turned on cable news yesterday to catch myself up, having been on vacation, and it was all like, praise the Lord, hallelujah, and Selzer has come to tell us things are not that bad, because Trump, I think, is very unlikely to actually lose Iowa, but Iowa correlates with Wisconsin, some other states. So if there's something that has been missed, because so far the polls have been so cautiously showing a deadlock between Trump and Harris in the 7 swing states, and there are some pro-Kamala people say, well, that's because pollsters are so afraid of getting it wrong because they massively underestimated Trump last time. It's funny that everybody thinks of 2016 as the election that the pollsters got wrong, but actually the polls were very close. 2020 was the election they got wrong. Even though they were correct that Joe Biden was going to win, they had him up by 6, and he won by 1 in Pennsylvania and the other swing states. So they're afraid of doing that again, and they are filtering out polls that show Kamala doing well to produce this. But actually, if you want an average, you want to include the ones that show her doing really well, the ones that show Trump doing really well, and the ones everywhere in between. And the theory of Democratic people is that these type of polls are out there, they're just not being included, and that's why you're seeing this close race. So maybe she's doing better than it seems.
And I think you would get that feeling based on vibes. And I know we make fun of vibes, but vibes do sort of play out in these races. I mean, you think about Barack Obama, he had the vibes. Donald Trump had the vibes in 2016. Yeah. I think 2020 is an anomaly because it was a COVID year and there was so many mail-in. It was, and that's part of the modeling issues that they're facing right now. Is a lot of it is based on either 2016 or the midterms, which are very different than presidential years, as we know, in terms of turnout. I think what's really interesting about this poll in particular is I don't think it's just about reproductive rights, which very, very important, and it doesn't mean that voters are single-issue voters and women are single-issue voters. I think it's the symbolism of what reproductive rights represents in terms of how far Trump administration would be willing to go given what they've already done and what they're planning to do and what Project 2025 says. But simultaneously, in Iowa, it seems like farmers are a little upset too. There's a lot of conversation online about folks being interviewed, farmers being interviewed, upset about the tariff policies because it does impact them. And these are economic decisions that are. It might work when Donald Trump talks about putting the burden on other countries, but they have real world implications, and it's not like small business owners and farmers aren't aware of this. So it's interesting to see how that might trickle down. Also, just with older voters, and this is happening across the board, it's not just in Iowa, Kamala Harris is doing extremely well, the best any Democrat has done since 2000. And she's winning with male older voters over the age of 65. On average, 50 to 80 plus, voters are R plus 13. That's Republican plus 13. And it gets more extreme as they get older and older. And so she's showing some signs of momentum with the most likely and reliable voters who I don't think they're just voting on reproductive rights, although I do think women care about that. I think it's about democracy, stability.
I mean, perhaps showing momentum. I think this race is actually just as close as it appears to be. She's up slightly in Michigan and Wisconsin, down by like 0.3 in Pennsylvania. If everything goes if the polls are dead on right now, actually Trump is she's going to win the swing states except for Pennsylvania, and it's going to be a Trump presidency. But it's 0.3 is so within this margin of error. We don't know. But again, I just go back to last time where it showed Biden up by 6. Yeah. They were off by 5-something points in Democrats' favor. If anything like that occurs again, this is going to be a decisive Trump victory. Or if there's something they're missing and Iowa is indicative, it could be a decisive Kamala victory or something in between. Or we'll find out that these states are not correlated. Right. That she's holding on to the Midwestern blue wall states, but she's losing Latinos and some minority voters, and she's going to get killed in the Sun Belt states, Georgia, North Carolina, who knows? So we could see that these all don't correlate, and different voters are making different minds about these candidates. As we see women more enthusiastic about the Democratic nominee, men more enthusiastic about the Republican nominee, that difference coming along, of course, coming out in that ad.
Men under 50.
Coming out in that ad, though, which I don't, that ad, I mean,
But you're not the target audience.
well, right, because we're not married. But it's just, it seems not healthy to each other or to anyone else, to be clear. It seems not healthy to me. I mean, like, people, this isn't a Handmaid's Tale world where I know plenty of couples, married people who have different politics and vote differently. It's fine. No one lives we don't live in a world where husbands try to force their wives.
Do you watch the Mormon Housewife show? We were just talking about this when we were getting our
Do I
makeup done
watch
this
the
morning.
Mormon Housewife show?
It is
Probably
wild.
not, Nomiki.
No, I do, and I'm not. It's like, I feel like when I watch these shows, I'm Margaret Mead, and I'm like, who are these amazing specimens who operate this way? It's a wild show, but there was a woman who was interviewed in Georgia. I think she was like 85 or something, and her husband had just died, and she got to vote for the first time, and they interviewed her and said, how did it feel? She goes, I can't wait to do this again. It was so fun. I mean, there are people like that, and older voters in particular, who feel either that they're not allowed to vote, or there's a heavy influence in the home, in pressure, in terms of ideology, and I get it. Like, it's not you, it's not me. I would never stand for that, but there are people who do live in homes like that. With that being said, I do think the Latino vote is going to make a huge difference, and I think the October surprise was that garbage comment, and I think we're seeing that already. Yesterday, there's a poll that came out where she's up with Latinos in Pennsylvania now, and that's why today both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are going to appear in Reading, Pennsylvania, with the largest Latino, Puerto Rican in particular, population, and there's no coincidence as to why. So maybe Bad Bunny will show up, maybe Taylor Swift will show up. I think this is the election. It's the Taylor Swift white lady plus Latino Puerto Rican vote. Like, that's the ticket.
I see. Well, we will certainly be, speaking of celebrities, we'll be talking about Kamala Harris's appearance on SNL, whether that was election interference. We have a guest who thinks so. Stay tuned for more Rising right after this.